Welcome back, gang. It's Deltia from Deltiasgaming.com. Today's video, I'm going to give you some early impressions on Blackwood chapter currently on the public test server for the Elder Scrolls Online. Keep in mind this is under testing and subject to change when launched on a live server in June. I've spent less than 10 hours so far in game playing a ton of new stuff like companions, the new trial, Oblivion Portals, zone activities, and more. I'll be doing a full review after I've spent around 30 hours in game, but I wanted to give you some initial thoughts and impressions if you're on the fence about this chapter and you want some early information. Check the video description below for important links, details, and timestamps if you wish to skip ahead. Also consider liking and subscribing to our channel if you like this type of content. Thanks for watching. Before I get started, it's important that you know April 20th was the first time I played the new Blackwood chapter on the public test server. I was not given early access and or any behind the scenes exclusive or information. Furthermore, as of this recording, I have not been given a copy of Blackwood, nor am I a part of ZeniMax Online Studios stream team or their influencer program. I'm not opposed to those programs, but I want to be fully transparent with you, the viewer, before I jump into my opinions. Now, let's move along. First up is the location and zone. The location of Blackwood is in the southeast part of the world map, just south of Shadowfen. When you port in, you'll immediately be struck by the sprawling tall castles feeling very Oblivion. The art team absolutely nailed this look and feel as the town Leowent is utterly gorgeous and enclosed in a big, beautiful castle. There's so many fine details to pick out, like a drawbridge, tiny bricks on the wall, a variety of trees and NPCs. It gave me this crazy powerful sense of immersion, throwing me back into what I felt like I was walking through Oblivion. The zone itself seemed very large, with your standard activities and fare. World bosses, public dungeon, and an area with a new trial in the southeastern part of the map. But with one major caveat, and that's Oblivion Portals, which are incredible. I'll cover those a little bit later. One thing that I didn't notice a whole lot of were way shrines, and a very limited amount of enemy NPCs, so it was very terrain heavy, without a lot of action and combat if you weren't doing the world bosses, delves, and public dungeons. So after gawking around for a little bit, I pulled up the public test server patch notes and immediately Control F looked for my location of Miri, my favorite lover and future companion, and rode right to the north to unlock the companion with an intro quest that you have to do. I'm not going to break down every aspect of companions in this video. In the future, I will have guides and videos on them, but ZOS answered my one big concern. Companions are not a replacement for real players. In fact, I was 100% wrong in my speculation video. They seem significantly undertuned, pulling maybe 3,000 to 5,000 damage per second and constantly dying as a tank. Starting out, I would suggest setting it to a ranged DPS because it had some advantages and it didn't die very easily. And then as you level with a cap of 20, switching to heavy armor tank focus seems to be a good strategy to get you started. So companions in general have limited utility in combat as of right now, but wow, do they add a lot to the story and immersion. After completing the introduction quest, companions become account bound via the collection's allies section. So you unlock these companions. There's two currently in the game, and I went with Miri to the north, the other one, Bastion, is to the south. And then you go in your collections, you kind of summon it just like you would a banker. Very simple and very intuitive. Once you get your companion out, you unlock it, you'll begin to notice little comments in and outside of combat, and the achievement section in your journal gives you information as to how to level their rapport system that unlocks additional quests and perks. Keep in mind, the rapport system is separate from experience points. Again, I'll cover this more in detail. This is exactly what I wanted from companions. Exactly. A battle buddy for stories, primarily, that could fit in the replacement of a real player if we get stuck on the final boss and just needed some extra oomph. My second favorite part of this chapter is Oblivion Portals. We got the Nugget Nation zerg together on the public test server, and Power of the Light, shout out to you, was the first to find a portal. What's interesting about these portals is there isn't a huge telegraph like Dolmen's. So when you and or a buddy finds one, you're just super excited to shout it out in zone, get a group together, and enter, because it's not very easy to find them. Once we entered, you could tell the developers spent a lot of time on the arts and visuals. But what was more impressive were the sound effects. The combat effects, the NPC talking trash to you as you progress through the Oblivion portal, making it more and more difficult. It felt exciting, and granted, this was the first time we did it. ZOS also answered my question about Oblivion portals, which was, how in the world are they going to make them replayable? Why, after the initial thrill, is someone like me, primarily focused on endgame, going to do them over and over and over? Well, it's through gear. New open world gear sets that you can obtain via drops in the Oblivion portal upon completion. Imagine Nugget Nation Guild Nights, where 12 players spread out through the map, all hunting portals and traveling to the player that finds them, rushing in, clearing it out, and sharing the loot. Oblivion Portals, ZOS answered the question. It's visually stunning, audibly fantastic, but also they have some replayability beyond the initial thrill. That initial ability comes through, yep, you guessed it, gear that's going to be really impactful probably later on. Speaking of gear, trials and gear, there are a massive amount of new gear sets, some of which I'm speculating here, but will probably be considered meta and must-have. I'm talking Overland and Blackwood, crafting, mythics, and new trial set. A whole bunch. Oh wait, I forgot, Monster Helms too. Our Oblivion Portal group entered this new trial, and we did a few trash pulls and made it to the first boss, but we didn't have enough people to complete it, and our companions weren't pulling their weight, so I got only a glimpse of this trial. If you know anything about me, I'm not a big trials player, so it wasn't that impressive to me, and felt very similar to Runes of Mazatoon, but then again, I did not complete it in its entirety, and this is not my favorite type of content. The point is this. Imagine if you want to stay relevant on the never-ending MMO hamster wheel of gear farming, you're probably going to have to get this chapter. But a lot of evidence suggests these new mythics, trials gear, and overland sets will be very powerful if they go to live server in their current iteration. Switching gears a bit, tutorial and housing. My livestream audience wanted to see the new tutorial and how it looked and played, so I fired it up. This is a massive improvement from the original because it's a concise sample of what you would actually experience in combat and very intuitive, and it's in a breathtaking environment. It also places you in front of a mirror similar to Oblivion mirror from Dragon Age when you complete it, with some epic music, the audio again, having you pick the spot you wish to start your adventure. Great addition for first-time players jumping into the game. Also, what blew me away was the 2 new houses they added. I'm not the housing dude here, but one had a huge cathedral with incredible details, light beaming through the windows. You exit out of it and head to the main area where you could have a guild hall, surrounded in this castle. Awesome feel. The second house actually was my favorite because it sits inside the city, surrounded by the high castle walls, giving you a sense of security. I love the role-playing story elements of this house, making you feel 100% immersed in the total Oblivion throwback. Add Miri, my Dunmer companion and lover, this is going to give me a lot of incentive to actually play the story. Ability timers is the other thing I want to touch on before I give my opinion. Console folks, rejoice. This is an incredible addition to you. ZOS took the premise from popular add-on action duration reminder and made a nice, clean user interface a part of the base game that you can access via the combat menu internally in the game. No add-on required. Combine this with the console enhancement edition, this is a huge win for Elder Scrolls Online and the console folks in general. So what is my personal opinion and what do I recommend for you, the viewer, based on your game type? Again, under 10 hours in, I like the chapter Blackwood. However, I don't love it. The positives are the chapter adds a lot of story replayability due to having a companion. It reminds me of why I replayed Mass Effect series so much. I started over and over just to see how the companions interacted with each other and my character. For the first time in years, I want to start the story all over and complete each one through and not be solely worried about collecting meta gear and finding the latest overpowered build. Anytime a game company can add replayability to existing content, it's a win, and this definitely adds to that. Someone like me primarily focus on mastery of the game rather than story.
Free my little brother and the others before something terrible befalls him.
The downside to me is there's no one thing I'm going to do over and over besides collect gear. Maelstrom Arena and Batishran Hollows are some of my favorite pieces of content because it's a proving ground to test my builds and improve my skill, and it's independent of other players, meaning I control when I want to play it. Battlegrounds are another massive addition to the game that serve the exact same purpose as Maelstrom or Batishran, allowing me to test my builds in a PvP context and immediately get into the action. Another thing I love about Elder Scrolls Online, their DLC chapter releases, they consistently and constantly nail new dungeons with cool environments, story, and monster helms. For me personally, without that one thing to do over and over and over beyond gear chase, I cannot say it's my favorite chapter, but it's a good one. If you're still watching this video and interested in what I'd recommend for you, the viewer, it's this. If your primary way you play Elder Scrolls Online is story and housing based, Blackwood is an absolute must-own because of the role-playing, the immersion, the additional story in the houses. Adding companions too, incredible addition. If you're an endgame PvE player, primarily focused on meta builds and trials, you're probably going to have to own this to stay relevant on the gear chase. But it'll be enjoyable because of the new trial, Oblivion Portals, and cool things to collect and achieve and earn. If you're an endgame PvPer, I have to speculate here. This is total speculation, but you're probably going to need to own this specifically for the gear if you want to play meta builds. You can form your own opinion on if that's right or wrong, but there will be very powerful sets with basically nothing else to offer in terms of new activities unless I'm missing something. Closing thoughts. I've already purchased Blackwood with my own money, and when I saw the addition of companions, it became an automatic purchase, no questions asked. I'll continue to stream and collect information and share what I've found so far, including guides and more robust review. But what are your thoughts? Please leave a comment, regardless if you agree or disagree. I really enjoy reading them and learning from you all. Thanks for watching.